fact that relatively complicated situations can be portrayed in a Gantt chart in a business plan for everyone to understand. And you can do them in Excel, you can do them in Microsoft Project. There's actually expected to put a Gantt chart or a timeline into your group project, so pay attention to how this is done here. As I said, you can do it very simply.
Hi and welcome. I'm Devin
On a
Davis.
scrap of paper, you can do it in Excel, whatever you like.
Today's whiteboard session, I'm going to give you a little history around Gantt charts with a view to helping you understand how they can be best used and things to avoid when you are using Gantt charts. Now, Gantt charts are great at showing planned and actual progress of any number of tasks against a horizontal timescale. They're first developed by Henry L. Gantt around 1917. Now, he was a pioneer in the area of scientific management, which was looking at analyzing and synthesizing workflows to improve economic results, in particular, labor productivity. Now, this was especially important around that time because World War I was happening, and the war factories had to lift their game and improve in their production rates and all the munitions that they were preparing for the soldiers over in Europe. Word got round about Henry to the War Department, and the chief ordnance officer at the time, General Crozier, decided that he wanted Henry on his staff, and he hired him as a consultant. As a result, Gantt started using his charts with the factories and with the Army to get everyone on the same page in terms of production levels. Up until that time, the only way the factories had to communicate how they were going against their production targets were in tabular or written content. So you can see the great advancement that a visual indication of how they were going against the production targets was quite revolutionary at the time. Now, if you fast forward to the 1980s, a lot of PCs were being developed and being promulgated out throughout the workplace. With those PCs came Gantt chart software. And specialists such as project managers and project schedulers started using the Gantt software to start producing their project schedules. Today, we're fortunate to have online and intuitive Gantt chart software, such as from projectmanager.com, that experienced project managers and casual project managers can use to collaborate interactively with their project teams or stakeholders during the planning and execution phase. And what these project managers are doing is they're setting with their project teams the schedule, identifying the task, looking at the resources required, and sequencing the task against a time scale. They're also very good when you're dealing with how to compensate lateness. Gantt charts aren't very good at that at all. I would recommend moving to a different type of diagramming, such as activity on the arrow or activity on the node, which most Gantt chart software today will allow you to translate back into those different diagramming methods. The thing to watch out for, though, is complexity. If you've got a really complex Gantt chart, there's going to be a heap of different tasks or activities that are lost in that translation. The key lesson learned from that is to keep it simple when you're working with those Gantt charts. I hope you've enjoyed today's whiteboard session, and I hope my little history lesson will spur you on to learn more about Gantt charts and how to use them effectively on your project.
Okay, so that is a Gantt chart in its simplest form. He's done it on a whiteboard. My favorite way of portraying Gantt charts is just on Microsoft Excel. And in the PowerPoint, I'm not going to show you today, but in the PowerPoint that I've downloaded on Blackboard, there are 3 links on Gantt charts. You can watch the other 2 if you wish. The third one is actually a relatively automated way of creating a Gantt chart in Microsoft Excel. And that may interest you. If not, it's really simple. Put up a spreadsheet, put a timeline across the top like he's done here. Okay. Put events going down the side here. He's got different events and durations. He's made a little chart, which is nice. And let's say you are, you're going to open a factory that makes golf clubs, right? So you're going to have to find a location, you're going to have to find equipment, you're going to have to get staff, you're going to have to train them, you have to set up your equipment, you have to test it. And eventually you have to sell your product, so you need a marketing phase, et cetera, et cetera. So in a typical project like that, there may be 20, 30, 40 various tasks that need to be done, and they can be portrayed in this Gantt chart. Okay? Now, as he mentioned, the Gantt chart does have some limitations. When you get into really complex projects, software that's specific for project management, like Microsoft Project, is a very, very powerful tool to use. I have a friend of mine that's currently in the process of building a shopping mall. And I looked at his Gantt chart that he's got, which he did a Microsoft project, and it's probably this high on a roll of paper that stretches across this whole desk here. So it is very, very complicated. For the purposes of your project, the Gantt chart itself can be a very, very simple tool that does the job for you. The other thing I like about Gantt charts, he's taken little arrows and joined critical paths here. So this has to happen until this happens. So let's say that event is, discovering the appropriate location for your business. Well, I have to do that first. I have to find a spot before I can start getting my equipment, because otherwise where do I put my equipment unless I've got storage facilities or whatever. Most people will find a location, and let's say this task over here is acquiring equipment for my company. I can't really do this until I do that. And so I put a little arrow here. This is what we call a critical path. So event A can't take place until event B is completed. We call that critical path. Okay? Now the other nice thing about Gantt charts is if you take a Gantt chart printed out or on screen, take a ruler and just draw a vertical line down here. See, it says week 3. If I draw a vertical line down there, all the events that I cross on the vertical line are things that are happening that week. I can determine, do I have a busy week? Do I have a lot of things on the go? Do I have a lot of things on the go that are actual independent events that are not critical on one another, and we can track them here. Okay? So, how do you do this on Excel? You don't have to get as elegant as that third video is, although, because they literally automate the Gantt chart. You can look at it if you're into Gantt charts, you can do it. Otherwise, it's a matter of putting a list of events, the timeline across the top, and coloring in boxes. You can just highlight a whole bunch of boxes in Excel. You can make a graph by making all the columns 4 characters wide, color them in. You can use different colors, and you can make the next Gantt chart. Right? You can use different colors. You can use different colors for things related to facilities and equipment, red. You can use things for anything to do with people, hiring people, training people, assigning people could be blue. Marketing could be green. So you can in different colors, and you can also, if you want, if there's something that you want to write, something of some added value, you can actually write in the box what you want to put in there. You might make a note that there's some specific piece of equipment that's going to be very hard to find, so the first thing you're going to look for is that piece of equipment, and you just write that there in the box. Remind you that this is a major showstopper that you need to pursue before you go on to the next. All right? So that is the Gantt chart. In your particular group projects, you're going to have to portray a timeline of when things are going to happen, in what order, what phases, so the Gantt chart does the job for you. One last thing I want to say with the Gantt chart, unfortunately I've shrunk it so we can blow it up again. Notice that on the timeline over here, it doesn't say, it says week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Chances are, the nature of the projects you have, it'll say month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. You'll probably have a 12-month timeline, right? Your business plan should entail a 12-month timeline, the first year of existence of your business. It doesn't have to be 5 years, but it should be a year. Why do we use, instead of January, February, or, I'm thinking of opening this business in September of the year, why do I not put September, October, November? Why do I put month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4? Why do I do that? Any thoughts? And that's the right way to do it. Any thoughts why?
Fiscal year?
It could be the fiscal year, yeah. Correct. Okay, I don't know if you heard that, but you may have unforeseen circumstances that don't enable you to start when you wanted to. So you might think, I'm going to start in September. But by the time I lined up a location, it was November. Or by the time I got financing, it was December. So the timeline, the meter, as we say, the time clock starts ticking perhaps when you get your financing. And so you don't put November, you don't put September, because you may start in December and that becomes month one. Okay? So that's what we do when we talk about timelines, and that will be something you should include in your particular. All right, so this here is what we call a critical path, and a critical path is not a bad model. The only downside